Gotta go fast. That feels good to say it. Anyway, everyone, welcome all of the followers of darkness, shadow scavengers, and villainy aficionados. Welcome, bienvenue to another Shadow Council episode 21. Welcome, everyone. Join us, please. Get around. I'm your host, like always, Lord of Shadows, and this is one of my most favorite, charming council members.
Hey, I'm TK. How are you doing? Hey, do I have to talk fast like this the whole live stream?
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, I feel the session. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I feel so fast. You know what? Just let's hit the break. Okay, let's hit the break. Relax. Calm down. You know. I think like I think like we drank like too much energy drinks. Like,
yeah.
We're trying to we try to sound and run like Sonic, ladies and gentlemen. But like I think like if we try to continue that road, I think we'll finish like way more faster with a heart attack rather than having super speed. But who knows? Anything is possible. Anyway, today's topic, with all of us like fast bullshitting, and also me saying like gotta go fast and everything. I think you kind of guessed it. Today's topic is gonna be just the way as the title is Sonic getting his own cinematic universe? Now, we have a lot of cinematic universes out there, like Marvel, DC, Star Wars. So why not Sonic? So why not, if Sonic has his own cinematic universe? I mean, I am all fucking for it, Now, before we go into it, I want to ask like you, TK, kind of like a general question.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your overall general experience with the Sonic franchise?
So I guess my first real exposure to it was Sonic 2. So I've watched the live action stuff. I need to go back and sort of binge some of the earlier cartoons. Especially the one I'm really curious to binge is where Jaleel White voices Sonic.
Oh, yeah.
I would imagine Urkel as Sonic. That kind of blows my mind a little bit. But I like Sonic. I think it's an interesting concept. I'm trying to think. Growing up, I feel like I had a Sonic the Hedgehog game for my Game Boy. I probably just dated myself by saying I had a Game Boy. But I think I have a memory of having that for my Game Boy at one point or another. Yeah, I think my earliest experience with Sonic really though is probably the live action stuff, specifically Sonic 2. I'm trying to think if I do remember watching bits and pieces of a Sonic TV show on Kids WB years ago. But yeah, how about you?
Well, I mean, I had to go like a little bit further into the future, like for me personally, because like my very first Sonic experience was, now video game wise, it was Sonic Heroes for PlayStation 2. Like that was my very first introduction to Sonic. I mean, like from all the characters I played and everything, like I loved. I fell in love with like every single one of them. Mostly, I mean, the one I was really in love with, like in the Sonic Heroes games, were like Sonic, Knuckles, Amy was cool as well. The Omega robot, he was also pretty cool, but the ones that kind of really interested me were like Vector and the Detective Agency. Like those three for me were like my favorite characters in Sonic Heroes. But that was kind of like video game wise, that was kind of like my introduction to the game franchise, and then later on I was introduced to the Sonic Boom games, then like first, with Sonic Force, where basically you create an avatar and kind of like, you play in the game, and then a Sonic Generation, so on and so forth. But for TV wise, again, I have to go to the modern era of Sonic because.
Oh, wait, hang on one sec. Hold that thought. I knew this was the last one, Cosmo.
The good old fashioned squeaky alarm.
Come here, Mom. He's drinking havoc on my life.
Quickly, by the way, do you want to have a vacation? Do you want to have some time off out of work? Sure. Like, then join us to the Sonic Express. Here ends the marketing.
Okie dokie. They say never work with small children and animals, and I'm starting to think that might be true.
Well, sometimes life can be a bitch. I mean, what else can I
Yes.
say? But anyway, so my very first like media wise, I have to go a little bit more modern. It's actually I'm not Sonic X. That was my like television wise. That was my very first introduction to Sonic. When it comes to television. Now, I mean, I was familiar with the Sonic Adventures like TV shows, like the first two, Steve Urkel basically voiced Sonic, which I personally thought when I saw them, he actually did a pretty good job voicing Sonic. But I was actually more into like like I said, Sonic X, Sonic Boom, Sonic Prime, and many other like different like Sonic TV shows, But I was later on I was familiar with the other ones as well. I mean, like for example, Sonic Underground as well. That's also one that I really watched. But of course, like everyone else, I was introduced to Mike Pollock as the voice of Eggman. I think like for Mike Pollock, I think Sonic X was like the beginning before they actually cast him into like video games and everything. So even though Jim Cummings actually did a very terrific job in like one of the Sonic TV shows, like he made Robotnik sound way more terrifying. And Mike Pollock is like more like a egocentric, like showman, crazy, wacky, mad scientist, type of voice, but still like, even he can be diabolical and intimidating sometimes, But overall, Sonic Heroes and Sonic X were my own introduction to the Sonic franchise. Now let's go a little bit to the Sonic movies in general. Now, Sonic usually we both know Sonic usually was more like for video games and TV shows. We all know that from all the way from the Adventures all the way to Sonic Prime. But let's go a little bit in the past. So when the Sonic the Hedgehog live action movie was announced, I want to ask you with the very first trailer that came out with the poster, and everything. What was your initial reaction?
Ugly Sonic. Yeah.
That's what I say. First trailer.
Yeah. It kind of gave me deja vu of Dragon Ball Evolution.
That's a good one.
I kind of thought, oh shit, here we go again. Now I will say, Ugly Sonic does get redeemed in Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, I really wonder how much did they got Paramount, like how much they paid Paramount to use that.
But the first trailer I wasn't impressed with, and I guess from what I understand, I mean, obviously they went back and they redid Sonic, which I think they had to do because nobody was going to accept that ugly Sonic. I think what they tried to do is they tried to make Sonic look too realistic.
Yeah,
and that didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Think about it. Like that's also the same. Like for example, Sonic is one of those characters, and you and I both know. Like Sonic is one of those characters that you could try to make him realistic as possible, but there's no fucking way you can make him realistic. He will always have that cartoonish, character look. Like it's like, for example, they try to do, let's just say, a Spyro the Dragon live action movie, and then they try to make Spyro as a realistic purple dragon as they could, and he looks awful. He looks fucking awful, So at least, and again, and so basically, the very first movie would have been destroyed right from the get-go, And imagine, like, if they stick to the real, let's just say, ugly Sonic, as we put it. If they stick with the ugly Sonic, none of this that we have today would have happened.
Yeah, no,
none of that. Like the movie, I'm sorry to say this, but the movie would have failed from the beginning. Not just simply that people trashed the trailer, but can you imagine like people trashing it in the theater? Oh my God.
Yeah, it would not have done well. I don't know how much of a delay that caused.
I think like 4 months.
Yeah.
Give or take.
I think it was worth it though, because I think they had to. I don't think there was any way they could have gone forward with what they had.
Yeah, I mean, because I think about it. that's one of the things that was really surprising, because at first I was like, okay, he looks like shit, but I was like, well, at least I'm going to enjoy, Jim Carrey as Dr. Eggman, at least like that's kind of like a plus for me. But then when I started like thinking of, then I started, like kind of like, going back and forth with the trailer. I was trying to kind of like be more positive than anyone else, even though their reactions are priceless when they saw Ugly Sonic. But overall, and even I will agree, I'm a fan of Gangsta's Paradise as a song, but for a Sonic trailer, it was a terrible choice. I had to say it. It was a terrible, terrible choice. One more thing to say, to kind of criticize about it. But anyway, I do agree with you. For the very first time, which is something, again, studios very rarely do that. They fucking listened to the complaints, to the fans, to the moviegoers. They fucking listened. They were like, you know what? Okay, you didn't like the ugly Sonic version. You know what? Okay, let's delay the movie like for a few months. Let's try to, redesign the character, do some reshoots or whatever, and then try to make it as best as possible. And then when the second trailer, or should I say, as the Paramount would say, the first official trailer came out, because the other one was like wiped out from the face of the earth. Like it never existed. I'm kind of like paraphrasing that fucking Connell guy from the movie. Like, whenever such thing existed, whenever a person that like that would ever existed, like just like the trailer. Anyway, when they released that trailer and we saw that new design, people changed their minds, their opinions. It was like a flick of a switch, like that. It was a total change, and people were way more. People were praising the character and the overall movie excitement way more positively than the first one. Because like, which I kind of I think like with that Paramount, I think like in this case they realized that when you have a character like Sonic, you can try to make it as realistic as possible, but he will always have that cartoonish look. So in the end, it all ended up being perfectly fine. So I'm glad that Paramount listened, especially Jeff Fowler, the director. And to be honest, I was kind of surprised that he actually worked on like some Sonic games, especially the Shadow the Hedgehog video game. I was really surprised what?
Really?
Yeah, Jeff Fowler also was part of the Shadow the Hedgehog video game. I think it was like I think it was like in the animation part of the game. I'm not quite sure about that. But he did actually work a little bit for Sega, basically. Which again, when you look at the movies, kind of makes sense because like of all the knowledge that he gathered and everything. Now, okay, so now with the Ugly Sonic basically behind our backs, all the way in the past, all the way deep down in the past, thank God. With like we everything we got so far. Now I want to ask you, what was your first impression when you watched the first movie?
I like it. I don't think it was as good as the second, but I liked it. The thing that I'm not crazy about in the first movie is, and I might be in the minority with this, is Jim Carrey's look in the first movie. I don't know. I'm not crazy about that. But I mean, it was fine. I mean, I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, look, if let me put it this way: if the movie was like a standalone movie, like a one movie deal, and that's it. If that was the case, then I would have agreed that Robotnik didn't look exactly like he was in the game. But with the sequels in mind, like from the first one, the second one, especially that crate scene when he was in the Mushroom Planet, and we saw the bald head, the mustache, and everything. With all the crates and everything, like with all the sequels in mind, I actually swallowed the way how he looked in the first one, because we would throughout all the movies, including the third one, through the trailer, all the three movies, you can see the evolution of the character, where he like slowly became the Dr. Eggman we know. So with that in mind, especially with the second one, I appreciate his design in the first one even more. I mean, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess in retrospect, it works. I think at the time it threw me, but it works.
Now, one of the things I do agree with you, because in this one we were in the same boat. Sonic 2 was actually for us, for both of us, was actually way more better than the first one. I mean, I get the idea. Like, when you start with the first one, you have to start small.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to start small, because if they dived directly into the Sonic, like, universe, so to speak, like directly from the first movie, I think like it would be in a much more complicated case in a way. So I think like I really like the idea that they started just with Sonic trying to, like, basically survive the hunt of, like, Dr. Eggman, or pre-Dr. Eggman, and kind of like, building up his the relationship with, as he like to call him, the Donut Lord and Pretzel Lady, and everything, which again, feels natural in a way. But like from the second movie, now that's where we expanded the Sonic lore. Like, it's like, oh my God, we got the Master Emerald, we got the Chaos Emeralds, we got the Echidna, we got Tails, we got Knuckles, we got, like, Super fucking Sonic, we got the fucking Death Egg, the robot, like at the end. Oh my God, like I both agree that the second movie was like the overall introduction to the Sonic lore. Way more deeper into that.
The second one was really a home run. I mean, I don't know what I went into the second movie expecting. I don't think I really had too much. Like, I don't think my expectations were like overly high or overly low. But I was really blown away with the second one, especially that Super Sonic. That Super Sonic was so cool.
Oh yeah, that was like the cherry on top, literally, for me. Oh my God. And like the reason for me personally, I went like 50-50 on this one, but I think that the main reason why I was excited for the second one was because Tails and Knuckles, we're gonna finally get them. And also it was so great for them that they got the original voice actors for the voice of Tails in the game, from the video games.
Yes.
Because honestly, I mean, okay, they could have easily gotten someone famous, literally, for Tails, like someone younger, but again, I just like with Knuckles, with Idris Elba, I think I would have kind of got used to it. But having the same actress voicing Tails from the games, it makes it an even better experience. It makes like Tails complete in a way, So I'm really thankful to Jeff Fowler and the crew that they chosen to stick with like the original voice for Tails. I mean, what do you think about that choice? Like, yourself.
Yeah, that was a good move. Continuity wise, that was a really good move, I think. I don't know. I mean, I think you're right. They could have casted like anybody. I think there are a lot of people they could have casted, but I think continuity wise, it was a good move. Now I will say, I think that the voices of Knuckles and Sonic are really good. Are good too. They fit. But I think it is nice to have that. Just like one character, it's nice to have the continuity.
Yeah, but here's the crazy thing. Now, for Knuckles, when Idris Elba was cast as Knuckles, the thing is, not everyone was on board at first, having Idris Elba as Knuckles. Because they couldn't see his voice matching Knuckles, especially the way how he usually sounds like in games. Because I mean, I think like of all the casting, I think like the fastest acceptation, let's just put it that way, for the voices was Ben Schwartz as Sonic, because like he was a really good choice. Like, because he kind of, even though I kind of get the idea of what they went with Sonic in these movies, but he also kind of remind me of Roger Craig Smith voicing him.
I can see that.
I mean, Sonic is kind of like more mature, but like the energy, the tone, and the kind of like lightheartedness of like Ben Schwartz's voice of Sonic. There's some demeanors that really reminds me of the original Sonic, that from the games. So for me personally, it was a perfect fit. And again, for Idris, again, I was also questioning kind of like Idris Elba voicing Knuckles. But we got a little bit of like in the trailer, like okay, he sounds good. But after seeing the movie, I was like, oh, they couldn't cast a better person for Knuckles. He was so good in that. Now, I want to ask you, like, we could go like through like all the, but I want to ask you like one of the primer one of the most like primary questions I have. What are your thoughts of the human characters in
I
these
like
movies?
them. I think they're well cast. The guy's name is blank. James Marsden.
Yep,
Yeah.
James Marsden.
I like him. Now I think that he's not necessarily new to the whole CGI animal thing because I think he
Nope.
was in Hop.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I like the dynamics between the live actors and the animated ones. I think it adds something interesting. I don't know. I mean, I kind of like it. I like the it. I mean, it. I'm trying to think what the right word is. Interesting. It also adds some like comedic stuff too, more comedic stuff too. I think, which I like. I mean, I could understand if people don't like it because anytime you have like live action and animated mixed together, it kind of is a
Yeah,
risk. Um,
it's a big risk.
yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I kind of think like I kind of feel like it blends well together.
Yeah, I mean, like think about it. Like in the first movie, Jeff Fowler was kind of like trying to balance, like since it was just Sonic in the first one, he was trying to balance like human characters and Sonic, like throughout the entire movie. In the second one, he's doing the opposite what the Transformers never did. For example, it concentrated more on like, for example, like Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and like Dr. Eggman, and they actually pushed the human characters aside, basically. Like I mean, the biggest part of the second movie, like, is definitely like for human characters is the Hawaii scene. That's like the longest they have been, all the human like characters together. Because but everything else was like just Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Robotnik like the whole time, which again, smart move. It's a smart move, like what they did and everything. Now I want to ask you this, like like again, the Sonic the Hedgehog, like the first movie, I don't have much to complain because I really had super fun time with it and everything. But in the Sonic 2, there are two things I want to ask you. Like I've seen a lot of people complaining that the tavern scene in Siberia, where Sonic and Tails were like they having that dance fight, Babanka as they call it. I want to ask you, like, because a lot of people thought that scene, overall scene, was stupid and was like unnecessary for not for everyone, but for some people. Now, for that first scene, I want to ask you: what did you thought of it, and did you thought it was unnecessary?
I don't know. I mean, I thought I liked it. I thought it was humorous. Could it? I mean, could the plot have been furthered without it? Maybe, but I don't know. I mean, I kind of liked it. No, I kind of liked it.
For me personally, for that specific scene, I really didn't have any complaints. I didn't even have any complaints when that fish head on the floor was like run. Like even that for me, I was like, okay, like that's great. Like that's fucking hilarious. Like because especially when you have like animation, live action, like mixture, you don't have these kind of things. When you have like a fucking fish head saying run, you don't have that. So I felt like oh man, like that was such a cool thing to do. But for me personally, the reason why I liked it, the majority of the reason, is because it expands on the relationship between Sonic and Tails, not just simply as a team, but as friends as well. So for me personally, that scene, I see it, I consider it as like as important as all the other scenes in the movie. So my next question to you is the Hawaii scene, because a lot of people have said it's too long. They should have made it shorter. Because mostly it was the complaints because like there was like too many human character moments in that. So what did you personally thought of the Hawaii scene?
I don't know. I mean, I could understand people saying it could have been shorter. But I don't know. I mean, I thought I thought really moved the story along more than. I'm trying to think. No, I would say that moved the story along more than it didn't. I don't know. I mean, I kind of liked it. I mean, maybe I would have shortened it a little bit or compressed it a little bit, but overall, I didn't think it was. I wasn't really bothered by it.
No, me neither. I wasn't bothered. I wasn't bothered by it at all. For me, like I liked like some of the moments between like especially the two sisters trying to like save Sonic and and Tails and the okay, let's say Donut Lord. I can't remember his actual name. Mike or something.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, like I really like that their little moments they have. Also, kind of like the introduction of Gun, which I thought actually were kind of like very odd. The way how they introduced Gun, like basically saying like the like between the first movie, the second movie, that's when Gun was created. Because in the games, Gun existed way before than like what the movies have shown. So it was kind of cool to kind of like see the introduction of Gun. That was actually a nice touch. So overall, I mean, especially for the comedic part, I didn't mind it. It kind of, for me personally, it kind of flew. That scene flew very quickly. I didn't find it too long, personally, for me. Now, now again, we can go on and on about like Sonic 2 and everything, but we can both agree that the Sonic 2 is better than the first one. We can both agree on that. Yeah. And also, what we both can agree, it dives deeper into the Sonic lore much more than the first one. Which of course, which of course, like when you go into sequels, of course, you're gonna make stakes bigger and bigger and everything. Now, with the crate scene at the end of Sonic 2, we both know in Sonic 3 who's coming.
Yeah,
a character that everyone loved ever since he was introduced in Sonic Adventures 2. Shadow. I didn't know Mephisto changed his name to Shadow. Perhaps he had some like passport issues. I don't know. Who knows? But anyway, yeah, Shadow the Hedgehog finally is joining us in this like Sonic like cinematic universe. Let's put it that way. And and by the way, do you know that the model for Shadow in the crate scene, they were basically using Sonic. They just like repainted him.
Huh.
Yeah, they actually used Sonic's design and they kind of repainted it to make it look like Shadow because like if you look at the trailer for for Sonic 3 and the crate scene, Shadow he looks different.
I'm gonna have to go back and look at that now.
Yeah, just put the picture when he was like frozen and like from the trailer and you'll see they're different. But anyway, Shadow the Hedgehog. Now, I want to ask you now before the casting for Shadow was revealed, who did you thought or hoped would have been cast as Shadow?
That's a good question. I don't know if I really thought about it before he was cast. That's a good question. I don't know if I really gave that much thought.
Now, go ahead.
I don't think I really gave that much thought before he was cast.
Okay, fair enough. Now, the one thing is like because a lot of people have got when like nuts when a Shadow's casting was revealed, because as you know, a lot of people when they were doing fan casts were saying Keanu Reeves as Shadow all the time. And I don't know if Jeff Fowler is reading tweets and Facebook pages like every single fucking day, or he's trying to read our minds. I don't know. But, seeing this fan casting come to life, I mean, it's absolutely mesmerizing. But also, here's a conspiracy theory. Do you remember like in the first Sonic movie when Wachowski, James Martin's character and his like girlfriend were watching Speed?
Yes.
Here's a conspiracy theory. What if from that moment Jeff Fowler thought like to cast Keanu Reeves as Shadow? What if that Speed scene while they were watching this movie was put on purpose because like trying to give us a clue that Shadow is going to be Keanu Reeves.
That's possible. I mean, with that kind of stuff, you never know how long they had that. Like, maybe not in the works, but you never know how long they like kind of wanted to do that.
Yeah. Also, here's a coincidence. Did you notice that every single movie we had to wait like 2 years? Look about it. Think about it this way. First one came in 2020. Second one came in 2022. And now this one is coming in 2024.
That's true.
2 years apart. Like 1 year to film it, post-production, and then the next year they release it.
That's true. I never thought about that, but that's true.
Yeah, it's such a coincidence. And also, one of the things that I love mentioning that is because it kind of shows you that, like, they're not like wasting time. They're not like, pulling any punches or slowing down or anything. Like, they really basically try to be on the road, like, every single goddamn minute. I mean, I don't know. It might be a coincidence, but overall, I will say this: I respect their conviction and durability.
The one thing I will say about the live action Sonic films is they kind of tick me off a little bit. And it's not because they're not good, they're good. It's actually because they're good. So if they can do a good live action Sonic movie,
here we go.
They can do live action Super Sonic, and they can They can do all that good stuff with live action. Why in the bloody hell can they not do a live action Dragon Ball movie?
I fucking knew you're gonna say that.
I don't understand how that can be. Like, if the producer director whatever of the Sonic movies, after he's had his fun with Sonic, if he wants to take a crack at doing Dragon Ball live action, he might actually be the right person to pull that off.
Well, for Jeff Fowler, like, to take on Dragon Ball again, that's a different topic because, like, I don't know if actually he would be interested to do it. I don't know, because so far as we've seen, he's like very busy with the Sonic movies. So I don't know. I mean, maybe he could take a shot, But remember, just because he did good with Sonic, it doesn't mean he's gonna do good with Dragon Ball.
That's true. Although I think if he could get a Dragon Ball movie, and he could do what he did with Sonic, and like he could translate it well to the big screen live action. I mean, that could be a franchise.
I mean,
the thing that anybody would have, and the thing that I like about Sonic, and I guess what you have to figure out with Dragon Ball is there's so much like source material to pull from, like for the movies and stuff, that like how do you go like with like there are like so many like in really any animated show, so many like sagas or so many different like arcs, and I guess that's the challenge whenever you adapt to live action is you go and adapt like the arcs, or do you take the arcs and like change them around and like put them into a movie? I mean, because like in the case of Dragon Ball, doing that would make like 3-hour long movies.
Look, now we talked about it before when we talked about Dragon Ball in general. Like, we talked about it. Dragon Ball, for me personally, it should be done as a series, not as a movie, because like there's so much lore that putting all in a movie would be a bit like complicated. Now, to go back to kind of like the Sonic thing you tried to say, I think like there are two reasons I think why the Sonic movies are successful. Like one is because like you can definitely see the way how they were done. One is definitely like they're trying to balance like this movie to be like for fans and casual viewers. And number two, you can see not just from Jeff Fowler, but like for everyone who worked on this, even like the screenwriters, like you can definitely see that those movies were done by people who are fans of the franchise.
Yes.
Who are fans of these characters. That you can definitely feel, just like the Super Mario Brothers movie, like the animated one, not the live action bullshit. Like you can definitely see like the movies are done with love, with like heart and soul. I mean, you can feel it. Like even like from the first one, who was like a very simple, has a very simple story, but you can definitely feel like, from the beginning to the very end, that it was done with care.
Well,
And
and
it was done by,
the casting is also spot on too.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean that, and that's the question. I guess circling back to the ugly Sonic, I guess the question I would have, and I mean, we're probably never going to know the answer to this because we never saw a movie with the ugly Sonic. We only saw the trailer. But if Ben Schwartz voiced ugly Sonic still, and like they hadn't gone back, like I wonder if the casting might have actually saved them. Like if people had watched it and forgiven like the CGI, if the casting and story were good. I mean, I don't think they would.
No, I don't think also.
But I don't know. I mean, but I will say, I mean, the casting in those movies was like 100% spot on. I don't think they could have done any better. And I think, however in the hell they got Jim Carrey for the third movie to come back, because like he was considering retirement. However they got him to come back and not retire, I think that they should be commended for that, because I don't think they could have recasted Eggman as anybody else.
I have a theory why Jim Carrey returned. Because in the third movie, he's not just simply going to play Eggman. He's also going to play Gerald Robotnik, the grandfather of Eggman. So I think and also in the actual lore, I don't know how much you're familiar with Gerald Robotnik, but like Gerald Robotnik and Eggman have completely different personalities. Completely different.
Robotnik, he reminds me, I know he's not the same guy, but he reminds me, at least in the trailers for this movie, of that. I'm blanking on the name of the guy, but he reminds me of the scientist guy from Mega Man.
Dr. Wily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. He kind of looks like Dr. Wily. He kind of looks like that. I will give you that. But as I tried to put, like Gerald Robotnik and Dr. Eggman, they are completely different people. So. I'm really curious to see how Jim Carrey was gonna do this, because because from what I've seen from the trailers and everything, even though I can definitely see Gerald Robotnik also have some wackiness in his character for sure, because it's fucking Jim Carrey, of course. But I think like Gerald Robotnik, just like in the games, I think he's gonna be much more balanced, much more serious, and let's just say less wacky than, for example, what Dr. Eggman is. I think and just that challenge on its own, I think it's the reason why Jim Carrey returned, for this role.
How about Jelly Roll doing the title song for the movie?
Gerald Robotnik.
Jelly Roll.
Oh my God.
It's I forget the name of it. It's I want to make sure I get the name right, because I'm going to get the name wrong if I try to do it from memory. It's Jelly Roll Sonic. Run It.
Ooh.
First of all, Jelly Roll's really moving up. Like a year ago, I had no idea who the hell the guy was. But that's one thing I'll say about the Sonic movies is I think they each have had like a title track. I think Wiz Khalifa did one of them. I'm trying to think.
The second one.
Who was the second one?
The second one, like the main one, was he also played an agent in Knuckles.
Oh, geez.
What's his name?
Oh, good Lord. Kid Cudi.
Yes.
Yes.
His soundtrack, like his song, was like the main track, let's put it that way, in the second one.
Yes. And what I'll say is, of the three tracks, although we haven't heard the third track in the actual movie yet, because the movie's not come out yet, but of the three tracks, I think the second track for the second movie is the strongest.
Mm-hmm.
I like the rhythm of it. I like the sound of it.
Yeah.
The production of it. But what I like about the Sonic movies, and for me personally, I wish more movies would do this. I like how they have the title track and then drop it like ahead of the movie, because I think that's really, really, really good promotion. I don't know. I mean, I kind of like that myself. What do you think?
I mean, the soundtracks themselves, like like for every single movie, they're like one of the key ingredients to make a movie like much more memorable and more like iconic. And I do agree with you, like for both like Sonic movies so far. I would even go as far like even for the Knuckles TV show as well. I would say like the soundtracks have been so far really good. Like for example, Knuckles, had the Warrior song. Then of course, Kid Cudi did, for the second one, in the first movie, the soundtrack for that, like, I mean, every single one of them, play their role in a very fitting way, So I'll be really curious to see how it's going to be in the third one.
Now the third
the
one is
soundtrack and
also
everything.
supposed to have, I think, Live and Learn in it.
Oh, really?
I guess Crush 40 is that the band who did it, I think. They I guess are doing like a new version of it.
Mm.
And also too in Knuckles there were two other songs. There was Frickin' Human Race and Flames of Disaster,
Yes.
which I kind of like both of those. Flames of Disaster, my only complaint is I thought it was a little on the long side. I think anything over 5 minutes for a song and you're kind of pushing it a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
I
agree.
Like the sweet spot with a song is like maybe 3 minutes and 30 seconds. But I don't know. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was funny. I mean, it kind of funny kind of works for the Sonic stuff. Like lighthearted kind of works for the Sonic stuff.
Now,
anything else, it might be kind of like stupid, but it kind of works for this. Like, I don't know. I kind of feel like, I guess it's a built-in advantage the Sonic movies have, in my opinion, is like, it kind of works that like some of them are like a little bit cheesy and their humor is a little bit cheesy. Because I kind of think that's the spirit of Sonic. So it kind of works. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, like, look, the property, like when it comes to like Sonic movies, including like the Knuckles TV show, they're definitely center like they're definitely more centric towards like kids and family. But there are also like a lot of there's also a lot of elements that even like not simply like teenagers or adults can enjoy, but like also like Sonic fans in general. So I think like it's a mixture of all. Now I will say this: Sonic 3, out of all of them, I think it's gonna be out of all the projects so far. I think like it's gonna be the most like serious and I would say even darker.
Yeah, from the trailers it looks much darker.
Yeah,
it kind of looks like, and we'll have to see when the movie comes out. But it looks like part of the trailer like has like a more like lighthearted feel. But it looks like it's gonna. My guess is like in like the third act of it or whatever, it's probably gonna take a darker turn.
Not the darker tone. I think like the darker tone, not simply the finale, and I do agree with you on that one. Not simply the finale, but like the shadow part of the movie. It's gonna be
Shadow though.
What?
Are we gonna get Super Shadow?
I mean, I've seen a TV spot that involves a certain scene that also involves Chaos Emeralds. So anything is possible. But I mean, I'll be totally for it to see Super Shadow. But the thing I'm trying to say is that the reason why the Sonic 3, I think, is going to be a little bit more serious and darker than like I would say a little bit more mature than like the first two, because like everything around Shadow the Hedgehog, like from his backstory, his motivations, Maria, Gerald, and everything, all of that. All those elements are is what's gonna be. It's what's gonna make Sonic 3 like a bit more like serious and darker. Because like think about it. Think of the origin of Shadow. It's not very lighthearted. It's actually very tragic, serious, and dark. Especially what happened to Maria, the little girl. So. And again, that's type of storyline, because Jeff Fowler actually did mention one time that they were trying to make Shadow as properly as possible. When it comes to like adapting his origin story, his motivation, the connection with Gerald, and everything, they're trying to make it as more connected to the Sonic lore as possible, Even though I can definitely see there's some things they're gonna change for sure. We have a comment.
Hi, Caroline.
Hi, everybody. Hello, Caroline. Hello, welcome to another Shadow Council chit chat we're having right now for Sonic, especially in this case, So I hope you enjoy the ride. Anyway, welcome. So I was trying to say, because I don't know. And there are certain parts in the trailer that you can definitely see, as you said it, they're lighthearted. But there are certain parts you think it's gonna take a serious, more darker turn as well. So I think it's gonna be a mixture. And again, Shadow, you can't just do him lightheartedly. Like Sonic, Knuckles, or Tails.
Well, Keanu Reeves is a really good choice. I don't know why, he kind of really, for me, he kind of fits the role, or I think will fit the role really well. I remember seeing him in John Wick, which
of course
that's a whole other conversation. I have no idea how John Wick doesn't die. Because there was one part of the movie, the John Wick movie I saw, where he fell down this big flight of stairs. He just popped up when he got to the bottom. He jumped out a window and everything. So, but that's separate. But Keanu Reeves, though, the voice and everything, he just that's just kind of perfect casting.
Yeah, look, it's a fan cast that a lot of people wanted to see, and it actually came true. I'm telling you, it's like Jeff Fowler is reading our minds or something. And seeing Keanu Reeves as Shadow, for me personally, I felt that was just simply fantastic. And again, a lot of people freaked out when they saw Shadow on the motorcycle and also having a gun. And the reason why they're freaking out, because have you ever played the Shadow the Hedgehog video game?
No.
Oh my God, that game is it's very mature and dark, but also you have Shadow literally waving guns and automatics and so on and so forth, so many weapons, it's crazy. And also he also have him riding a fucking motorcycle, so again, Shadow the Hedgehog video game is literally John Wick if he went to the world of Sonic. Literally, And now, so
one thing I will say about Sonic is it seems like Sonic is, a lot of the elements are essentially Dragon Ball, but they're turned into hedgehogs.
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. I can see in your point of view some resemblance, but it's more no than yes, honestly. Because there are some similarities. I give you that, but Sonic is his own thing and Dragon Ball is his own thing. The only resemblance so far I can tell you is basically the Chaos Emeralds. Dragon Balls, Chaos Emeralds. That's the only resemblance I can see, and also Super Sonic, Super Saiyan. But that's the only thing for me, at least for me. But anyway, so I want to ask you, before we go into the TV show itself, and then basically we go into the void. I want to ask you, what are the things that makes you excited for Sonic 3? What are your top things that makes you excited for the movie?
I think Keanu Reeves, number one. I think the trailer just all around makes it look really good. Now, trailers can be deceptive because I think it's rare that you get a movie that is actually as good and as funny as the trailer makes it look. So, but based on the trailer, it looks really good. The visual effects in it, I think, look good. I don't know. I don't know. I think that the other thing that's going to be interesting too is seeing Jim Carrey in a dual role, because that's also always kind of a risk, because obviously there has to be heavy CGI with that. So that is also a risk, but I don't know. I'm curious to see that.
Okay, so basically, Jim Carrey playing double roles, and Keanu Reeves as Shadow.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, personally, Keanu Reeves as Shadow, of course, naturally. Jim Carrey, seeing him as Eggman and Gerald Robotnik as well. But also kind of makes me excited, or more precisely curious, for Sonic 3 is how they're gonna handle the Maria story, because in the actual video game, if she was shot by a gun soldier.
Mm.
And since gun in the movies didn't exist since Sonic 2, and in the story that actually happened 50 years ago. So I'm kind of curious how they're gonna handle her death, in Sonic 3. I'm really kind of curious how they're gonna handle Maria. That's another thing that kind of makes me excited for Sonic 3, to kind of see how they're gonna explore Shadow's origin. I'm really curious to see.
Do you think they'll actually kill her?
Oh, she's definitely dead.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. There is a scene in the trailer when the Colonel will talk about Shadow, and he was like, Shadow only felt pain and loss. And there's a scene where you have Shadow across him. There's like Gerald Robotnik, and in the between, when you have all the rubble and like the fire and everything, and in between Shadow and Gerald, you have Maria, and she's like lying down like a body.
Mm-hmm.
So she's definitely dead. I don't think Gerald Robotnik is one thing as a reason to keep him alive, but for Maria, I think she's gonna be killed off. I think she's gonna be killed off, just like in the actual backstory of Shadow. I don't think she's alive, And also, I think that's something that a lot of people, I think, will be against it if they bring her alive as well. Now, I actually have a theory here. Now, of course, you have Gerald and Dr. Eggman as the main villains. But my theory is that in the overall movie, I think Gerald Robotnik is going to be the main villain. And I think Dr. Eggman is going to turn on him. And
that could be. They've left that very ambiguous in the trailer, I think.
And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Because remember what Shadow said. When we're done, there won't be anything left to rule.
Mm-hmm.
Or Robotnik or Gerald Robotnik saying our destiny awaits. And with the station, that was above the moon and Earth.
Mm-hmm.
I think Gerald, I think his goal is he wants to destroy Earth. He wants to destroy it. And that with Eggman won't be agreeable because he wants to rule the world. So when you remember in the trailer when he said, if I can rule the world, I might as well save it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to say that at the end. When he turns on Gerald. There's even a TV spot where you see Dr. Eggman going like, what? And I think that's where Gerald, I think, is going to tell him his overall plan, which is basically eradicate Earth.
That could be.
I think that actually might happen, which kind of actually give me an idea then why Shadow maybe in this version might be a villain till the end. I don't know, because there could be a lot of possibilities. Maybe even Gerald Robotnik could easily redeem himself in the end. I don't know, but the way how it's going, I think Eggman will turn on him and try to stop him. Because if he destroys Earth, what the fuck is he's gonna rule? So that's kind of my theory I have. What I think is gonna happen. Anyway, so with everything said, for Sonic 3, I want to ask now. Here goes the big one. Here comes the big one. The Knuckles TV show. Now, the Knuckles TV show, you and I both know, it's a divided TV show. A lot of people hate it, a lot of people like it. So my overall question is, what did you thought of the Knuckles TV show?
I liked it. So I'm gonna give actually, I'm not gonna say it's a spoiler because it really isn't a spoiler. But so the thing I would compare it to, seeing the dynamic between Wade and Knuckles, and then comparing it to the dynamic between I'm blanking on his name. Crap. Sonic and
Tails?
No, Sonic.
You mean Sonic and Tom.
Yeah, Sonic and Tom. So comparing the dynamic, I kind of like that. It kind of reminds me of, if you haven't, and if anyone out there hasn't read this book yet, they should. It reminds me of the dynamic, sort of in a way, between Aragorn and Saphira, and then in this new book, Murtaugh and Thorn. Who ironically, Thorn is a red dragon, so Red and Knuckles, that kind of the parallels cut even better with that. But I kind of like that dynamic. Also, Idris Elba, he is hilarious. Hearing his voice is hilarious. And I mean, like, I think back to him on his guest spot on The Office, and even as Heindrol. I know I'm botching that name in Thor. I think back to those roles. Like, I mean, he just kind of has, as Knuckles, like, he has a serious demeanor to him, but he also has like a very like serious, but like serious to the point that like he's hilarious. So I kind of enjoy that. I'm not sure it would work if it were. Hang on one sec. Hang on one second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I think that as it works as a TV show, as like a series. I don't know, like, if it were like an actual movie, how it would play. But I think it works for what it is.
So so overall, you didn't have any like big complaints.
You know, I didn't really have any big complaints with it.
Because a lot of people, and we talked about it before, like a lot of people complained about Knuckles, the TV show, saying that the overall main character, that he's barely in it. Which for me personally is bullshit. But like they're saying that he's barely in it, and it's more like Wade centric than Knuckles. Now, for what they were complaining, would you agree on that or not?
I don't think I'd agree with that.
Because yeah, because personally for me neither. Because Knuckles in the show, okay, when they say barely in it, let's be like I think they're basically talking about episode 4 and 5. Because he's in it like at the beginning and then at the end. But everything else, 1, 2, 3, and episode 6, he is in it the whole time. I mean, I get the idea that people maybe they put him in hiding, so to speak, because of the budget, because he's CGI and all that. I mean, I get it. Anything is possible. But again, I'm telling to everyone, like, remember the premise. The premise was Knuckles tried to find his home on Earth, but at the same time also training Wade in the ways of the Echidna, how to be a warrior. So just with that premise, people had to understand that Wade was also going to be centric in the Knuckles TV series. So not only Knuckles will have screen time, but also Wade is going to have screen time. And like, for example, let's just say the first 3 episodes were like they had more screen time on Knuckles than Wade, and then like 4 or 5 it's gonna be like just Wade, and then in the 6th one you have both, like a balance between both of them, and which for me personally is worked perfectly fine. Although I will admit that the bowling musical kind of thing was a little bit bonkers, and also like they could have made it shorter. But I still enjoyed it for what it was, But can I tell you something? Actually, who I wanted to cast as Gerald Robotnik. Great Scott! Christopher Lloyd, Doc Brown.
I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, ever since I did my own fan cast for Sonic, Gerald Robotnik, for me, I always saw Christopher Lloyd as Gerald Robotnik.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. The Jim Carrey double act, it works even better. But I always kind of found Christopher Lloyd as kind of like, Gerald Robotnik, like a character that was fit for him in a way.
Yeah, I could see that.
But I still liked him as Pachacamac. The ghost, the Echidna that was talking with Wade and Knuckles. Yeah, like he appeared in the first episode and then he appeared in the fourth one. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
The ghost that was kind of like guiding Knuckles.
Oh yeah, yes.
Okay, that's Pachacamac. So basically, he voiced Christopher Lloyd voiced that character. And again, just when you start hearing him, you know immediately it's him. And even though I feel like personally, I feel like he did a good job, and he was kind of like a little bit hilarious as well. But overall, I mean, even I even didn't mind the villains. I mean, what did you thought of the villains in the Knuckles TV show?
I didn't mind them. I think they were. I'm not going to say smaller scale, but I think they were appropriate for a TV show. I mean, I thought they were fine. I mean, I didn't really have any problems with it.
Me neither. I mean, look, the only thing maybe I could have if I can call it a complaint, because for me personally it's not a complaint, but if I can call it a complaint, maybe the only thing maybe I would have changed maybe is I would have wished that the buyer, played by the Hound from Game of Thrones, maybe that he had more screen time in the show. I mean, that's maybe the only thing I would have said, that he had more screen time, But even with the limited screen time he had, I still liked him as a villain. I still liked him. Even though it was kind of a reflection of like Eggman and Sonic, especially in the end when they were fighting. But overall, I didn't mind the agents. I thought the agents were hilarious, both of them. Like very typical, like henchmen, cartoonish, like lackeys. And the buyer, like the very typical, like again, Saturday morning cartoon, like villain boss, basically. And again, I liked him. So overall, for me personally, I didn't had any real complaints about Knuckles. Even like the introduction of like Wade's family. Even for me, even they were like a nice addition.
Yeah. I didn't really have any real complaints. I guess my only complaint would be with the song, the Flames of Disaster. That was a little long.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny. It's a good song, but I feel like it went on a little long.
I agree.
But aside from that, I mean, I didn't have any real complaints with it.
Me neither.
I think visually too. I mean, the nice thing is we didn't get any ugly Knuckles.
What?
We didn't get an ugly Knuckles.
Yeah. Okay, that's for sure. At least we didn't have an ugly Knuckles. I give you that.
But I don't know. I mean, I think Idris Elba, I think he really makes that role.
Yeah.
I think he really kind of like makes you want to watch him and hear him because he just really is funny.
Oh, yeah.
He reminds me, there was a character he reminded me of, but I forget who. But he just like, I just kind of like I like characters like that who are like so like serious at everything, but like there's like comedy in them being so serious because like they really like misinterpret things and they're just like whatever Sonic had that, or Knuckles, whenever he had that like Jello thing on his fork, said it has the consistency of a wet sponge. Like just a line, just a delivery of that.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, look, on it. Even though I'm a guy who hates, and I mean, I hate using the word cheesy. I hate that word because like because like because they're using that word on and on and on in these types of like reviews, especially when it comes to like TV shows like Knuckles. For me personally, like no line in the TV show were cheesy or anything. But I will say this, that there's one actually scene that really surprised me. They actually went far in the Knuckles TV show, and that was like in episode 3 when Knuckles was introduced to Wade's family, and they went into his room, and there was like that board. There was like this poster, like this. What's it called? What's it called? Like, what's the word when you have like characters like they're made like of like a billboard or something. When you have like normal size characters like posters and they're made of like what's the word? not plaque, not
Um,
I mean, you know what I mean.
yeah, I'm blank. I'm blank on the word too.
Anyway, he had like that this kind of like alive like this kind of like this poster, let's put it that way, like this kind of like poster of like that girl from American Gladiators,
Mhm.
and I was at that scene when Knuckles said, "Wait, these markings, they're everywhere, or like they're all over the place," and like, and it was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they went that far."
Well,
Because if
I
because
love that made me think. I love finish what you were saying. It just made me think of something.
because like because like you can see like when they would talk about like American Gladiators, and like she was kind of like his idol, let's put it that way, that why he loved that show, even though personally I never actually was into American Gladiators personally, but even though I heard of the show in general. But anyway, when they were talking about like this like character of this like woman and everything, and then like when Wade started saying like don't get too close, you get stuck and everything, it's very sticky, and then and like I said, Knuckles was like, wait, these markings, they're everywhere, and if you know what I mean, you know what it is basically, and I was like, holy fucking shit, I cannot believe they went that far, literally. I was like, wow. I was like, again, for like a family, child-friendly TV show, I cannot believe they went that far. I was in a very bizarre way. I was impressed that they made that reference.
Oh yeah, I like when maybe I'm in the minority, but I like whatever TV shows like that sort of make those kind of references. Um, I mean, like I will get a lot of them, and like I mean, I think they make the references. I think they're smart how they do stuff like that because I think a lot of that stuff would go over a little kid's head. Um,
Oh, definitely. But for a
but
parent,
yeah,
it won't.
yeah, yeah. Duh, but I like that. I like how they do that. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like I said, I didn't have any real complaints with Knuckles. I like the humor. Um, and now the other thing I would say is I think it dropped all at once as opposed to weekly. And
Yeah.
I think for a show like that, it kind of needed to. I'm going to compare it sort of. I know how you and FRC feel about What If. Now, me personally, I'm going to be completely honest. The first season of What If I didn't like. The second season I absolutely loved. Um, and so what Knuckles did and What If did that I think works to its benefit. So Knuckles released all at once, which I think it needed to. I think as a serialized thing, I don't know if people would have kept a vested interest in it. I
I
think
don't think so.
I think people kept a vested interest in it because they could binge it at once.
Mm.
Um, and I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, Sonic fans could be really into it and like stick with it. And What If does something similar, or it did last year, and is going to do the same thing this year, which is it doesn't drop them all at once, but they release like weekly for a week. Like they do like all the episodes weekly for a week. Um, and I think for that show too, that works because I that was the complaint I had about the first season of What If is that they released weekly. Um, and I think that it stretched out too long and it went way too long and I lost interest. So I think that, but I use that as an example because I think that releasing stuff like daily or even at once for some things it works out better. It keeps more of an interest. Now I think other things like another show on Paramount Plus, the Frasier reboot, doing them weekly
Mm.
is fine. I don't think there's really, I mean, any real issues with that. Um, but I think going back to Knuckles, in the case of Knuckles doing it all at once, I think that was a smart thing to do. Um, and I think that it might have been received the same way. It might still have gotten the same reviews. Um, for the most part of it had been a weekly thing, but um, but I don't know. I kind of think that it worked for the release, like the way like that it was like put out there. It worked. I know Nickelodeon. I forget if they did all the episodes at once, or they did like a daily thing, but I think they did something too. They released it on their on their like TV station.
They did Nickelodeon usually does weekly.
Um, I don't know. I mean, I question how many people would have watched. I don't know how that would have played on Nick. Personally, I mean, I didn't watch it on Nick. Um, but overall, I mean, I think that in terms of how it was released, I think it was smart, and I think it really worked.
Yeah, I do agree on with everything what you just said. Like because like there are some shows that it's a smart way to release everything at once, but there are also shows that should be released weekly, basically. Because like that like that's one of the things that, for example, sometimes I disagree with Netflix with like what they're doing, because like with every single show they do, they always release every single episode like all at once, so you can binge it. Which some of them it works. Some of them, for me personally, they work far more better with weekly releases.
Mm-hmm.
But in case of Knuckles, it's a smart move to release it all at once, because I think like when it comes to weekly, I think like the they would have lost interest.
Yeah.
Like episode per episode, I think they would have lost interest. So I think like, especially the way how it's done, I think like it was a much more smarter move to release it all at once
Yes.
rather than weekly. Because at first I thought like okay, it's going to be released weekly, but then when they announced that all 6 episodes is going to be dropped at once, I thought like that's actually a very smart move, a very smart move. So
I need to circle
but
back.
the figures I mentioned that.
Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead. I just had a thought come in, but go ahead. You
Okay,
just
I was just trying to say that I think like what?
you just made me think of something. Go ahead.
Okay. So basically, I was trying to say is that I think like for a lot of people, I think like they would have maybe much more accepted if they just simply titled it Knuckles and Wade.
Yes.
Because for example, like I mentioned before, like me and our other council member FRC, we used to do the Knuckles review, like when it was released, and oh my god, like it was literally like black like white like black and white, good versus bad, like light versus dark, like literally it was like the like it was literally like fight between two opposites.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, because like for example, I remember like one of my favorite moments of Knuckles was literally at the very end when they were listening to the music, and Knuckles was like, this is my jam. And for me personally, I thought that was cute. I thought that was cute, and also in the same time kind of funny, especially Knuckles saying that. And FRC was like, no, no, please, no, don't say it, no. Like, oh my god, because for him that was terrible. That was terrible for him, But I was like, okay, maybe if there were like two adults and one of the adults saying that, maybe it would have been terrible, or maybe like clunky or cheesy. But for someone like Knuckles, it works, and the way how Elba delivered it, it works. So for me, but I think like to avoid conflicts and everything, I think like they should have named it Knuckles and Wade.
Yeah, that would have been.
I think
I agree with you, and there's a parallel with that. So, and I hadn't heard about this. I hadn't even thought about this criticism till one of my friends brought it up to me. So, changing the title to Knuckles and Wade, that would have been good. I think that would have made sense. And it kind of makes me think of Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
Because one of my friends mentioned they thought that it was focused way more on Deadpool than it was Wolverine, which makes sense because it was essentially Deadpool's movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't think about that. It didn't register at the time, but thinking about it, I think they were right on. I think that Wolverine didn't get as much screen time as Deadpool did. So I think that the parallel is I think that Deadpool, while I think Knuckles could have added to its title, I think Deadpool and Wolverine could have subtracted the Wolverine from the title, maybe, and like made it more Deadpool centric. I think that, I mean, titling a movie is always a risk, or a TV show is always a risk. because the title, like, it has to, and I think usually they do a fairly good job with it. And I'm not usually crazy about like doing like just like the number like Sonic, Sonic 2, Sonic 3. I kind of wish they'd each have a subtitle. But
for Sonic, for me personally, I think it works. The type of title.
I think it works, but I don't know. Part of me wishes they'd have some kind of. Part of me thinks the subtitle would be cool, but I kind of. But back to your point about them retitling Knuckles, I think that probably would have been a good move. The only thing I would say is I don't know. It might have confused people, Knuckles and Wade. I mean, it might have. I don't know, but I think that it would have been a good idea. It would have been more reflective, I think, but I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with what you just said, but like again, I feel like for me personally, I think Knuckles and Wade as a title, I think it would have been less confusing than just Knuckles. I'm saying for the people who didn't like the show. If they like, they're like, oh, it's called Knuckles and Wade. Oh, okay, like a little bit of Knuckles, a little bit of Wade. Screen time. Like, okay, I dig it. That's why I think it would have been less confusing for the people who didn't like it. But I will say this: it's kind of it's really refreshing to talk about Knuckles with someone who actually liked it for a change. But now with everything said, I think it's time we enter the Void, which of course is the overall Sonic cinematic universe. Now, the way how it started, you kind of get the idea that they're planning to do a Sonic cinematic universe. Because I've heard from the producers, from Jeff Fowler, for a lot of people, I've heard that they're really planning to expand the Sonic universe, and especially like introducing multiple characters from the Sonic video games into the movies or TV shows or whatever. But the question I have, the question I always had, like, how are they gonna do? For example, how they're gonna okay, Knuckles, Tails, Shadow. Okay, they gave a reason, how they came here and all of that. But I think because again, that's a theory I have for Sonic 3. Now again, it might not be true, but what if Sonic at the end of Sonic 3? What if Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles they leave Earth? And they go back to their homeland, to their own planet, I mean. Like, their job is done. They've saved Gerald, they saved the world from Gerald Robotnik and Eggman. Because I even have a feeling that Eggman, even he might die in Sonic 3.
Well, I guess the question is, going forward, if they do that, could they do more Sonic movies without the live action characters?
Because that's the thing. I'm kind of curious because their story is already going around. They're planning a Sonic 4. Already, they're planning a Sonic 4. And they even added that on Sonic 3 that he's gonna have multiple crate scenes, not just one, like multiple. Some guy on Twitter said that some source told him that it's gonna be 6 crate scenes.
Well, that probably means Amy then.
Now, here's the thing. He said that it's gonna be like 6 crate scenes at the end of Sonic 3, and like each and every crate scene is going to introduce like new villains for like Sonic 4, which I personally think like here's the thing: the only way how 6 crate scenes could work, only one way, and that's only if they try to introduce in Sonic 4 the Deadly Six. And like each member of the 6 will be like one crate scene. But again, I don't think, because personally, I think like the 6 crate scene thing, I think it's bullshit. I think like when they say multiple crate scene, I think like it's gonna be either one. I think it's either gonna be 2 or maybe 3 crate scenes, and that's it. Like for example, one at the beginning when like you have at the very end, the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 like title, then you have like a first one, then you have the second one after the main crates, and then you have like an end crate scene.
Yes.
I think I think when they say multiple, I think it's either 2 or 3. I don't think it's gonna be more than that because I think 6 is too much, ridiculously too much, for a Sonic 3 movie. So again with Sonic 4 plans already in on the way, because they already believe Sonic 3 is gonna be a success, and I personally I think it's gonna be way more bigger success than Mufasa, and they came out like at the same time.
Yeah, I think it probably is going to beat out Mufasa. I mean, I think
Yeah,
Mufasa,
definitely.
I think I like the idea of Mufasa. I like where they're going with that, but I think that
Mhm.
Sonic probably is going to dominate that.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, we could both be wrong. We could both be really surprised, and Mufasa could wind up dominating Sonic. Um,
Who knows?
I doubt that'll. I really would doubt that'll happen. But I mean, crazier things have happened. But I think you're right. I think Sonic probably will dominate it. Um, I think that. I mean, I'm not surprised that they're already talking about a fourth one.
Yeah, I mean they're already planning like a fourth one, but the question is after Sonic 3, where they can go actually with it, because think about it. Like, okay, let's go step by step. Okay, like not trying to jump all over the place. Let's go step by step. Okay, so let's just say they said multiple credit scenes. Okay, so let's say there are 3 credit scenes. Okay, and then Jeff Fowler and the others, they already said that at the end of Sonic 3, there's going to be introduction of a new character.
Mhm.
Now, a lot of people have said Silver the Hedgehog, that he's going to come in. But I think we can both agree on that. I think that the next rightful character to appear, it has to be Amy Rose.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to. It has to be her. Now one of my friends actually said that he wants to like Margot Robbie to voice Amy.
I could almost see that.
Yeah, I mean even I can see her and everything, but like especially if you try to add like a little bit like Harley Quinn element in it.
I like
I
her.
can
She's good. I could see that. I didn't. I never thought about her. That would be a good choice.
Because the thing about it, the reason why Amy is the next choice is because you have Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails. But to make the team complete, you need, the next rightful one is Amy to make this Team Sonic complete. And of course, you had friendship with Tails and Knuckles. Now you're gonna need a love interest, in a way. Even though Sonic, I know, like there's some versions that they're like a couple, and there are some versions that are like she's trying to be a couple with him, but like Sonic's like he doesn't care about that. So I don't know. So so we can both agree that you think like one of the crazy could be Amy.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just say
I'm not so sure that they won't introduce her in the actual movie.
No. I think she will be one of the crate scenes. That's my theory, that she might appear in one of the crate scenes. So if let's just say Amy is in one crate scene. Now, what would you think would be the other 2 crate scenes? Because again, they did say they're trying to build up Sonic 4.
I might say Silver for one of the other ones. And then I'm going to say the other one, assuming your theory is correct, and they do leave Earth, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. Assuming they do leave Earth, I would guess maybe one of the after credit scenes might address where they're going, or might show or something. Now the question I have about that is if that is the direction they go, which it's all speculation right now.
Yeah, exactly.
But if that's the direction they go, the thing I would be curious to see what the fourth one is what is something people like and respond to with the Sonic movies, the human hedgehog dynamic, and absent that, how will people receive the movies absent that?
I don't know. I mean, because think about it, like because the reason why I'm saying this is because if they try to introduce all these characters in this Sonic like cinematic universe, let's put it that way. I mean, you can kind of see that if they try to, because after Amy, they're gonna go with like characters like Silver, Vector, Chameleon, Big the Cat, like maybe even like Sticks from Sonic Boom, or like the little one from Sonic X. I can't remember her name right now. I think it's Peach.
Oh yes.
Yeah, Peach, like like her, and then like many other different characters, not to mention the villains as well. Like Earth will be like overstuffed with all these characters. So I think like if you're gonna introduce these characters more and more, how the hell are you gonna do that? Like if you try to bring them on Earth, I think it will be too much. So I think like the only reasonable solution could be is that Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails, like eventually, like maybe at the end of Sonic 3, or maybe even at the end of Sonic 4, they leave Earth. And then basically, when they leave Earth, you can make movies, other movies and TV shows when they're like, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, they're like in their own world. Because, I don't know, seeing all these characters on Earth, I mean, okay, I mean, I can definitely see, because I've seen some similarities even with Sonic X. What they did, maybe they could have done the same. But like, if you remember Sonic X, at the end of that story, every single character returned back to their own world. So one way or another, that's going to happen as well in the movies. So I don't know. I think like because so here's the thing. Now for the Sonic 3 credit scenes, one of them is definitely going to be a character, and I think it's definitely going to be Amy. I don't think it's going to be Silver. I don't think it's going to be Metal Sonic. I think it's going to be Amy. Now, I'm still sticking with like 2 credit scenes. I think like even 3 credit scenes are too much. So so the second credit scene could be either maybe an introduction to a new villain that could appear.
Mephisto.
I was thinking more like someone like Nemesis or Naugus or the Deadly Six or something like not like Mephisto. I think I think he's too much.
Maybe Beetlejuice.
Oh my god! Like I think like Beetlejuice will go nuts with like in the Sonic world.
Oh, just imagine that though. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, I mean like because the thing is, again, those are just rumors. What I'm about to say, but there are already talks like they're planning to do a Sonic 4. That there's going to be other spin-offs. Like some of them are mentioning that they want to do like a Tails TV show, and they want to do like a spin-off with Shadow the Hedgehog as well. Like there's all sorts of stuff. Like they're saying they're already planning. Now the question I have is, and I want to see your opinion. How much do you think they could extend the cinematic universe of Sonic?
I think they can extend it, but I think they have to be really, really careful. Because I think that while Knuckles worked, I'm not sure Keanu Reeves. I mean, we're gonna have to see him in the movie, but I'm not sure that he would lend himself to somebody you would want to hear like in a series, or like be like connect within a series. Tails, I think you could do with a series. I think you could easily do that. So I think they need to be really selective. They need to be really careful with the directions they go, because I think that if they can keep it linear and they can keep it more in a straight line and not go down all these like different rabbit holes and stuff, I think that they can expand it and create a universe. But I think they need to make sure they don't go down any like the rabbit holes and like I said, with Shadow. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're gonna have to see him in this movie to see his character and everything. I mean, maybe you could do him in a series. Maybe you get people to watch, but I don't know.
Yeah, because the thing is, I don't think Shadow is gonna die in Sonic 3. I think that he's gonna live, and by the end of the movie, I think he's gonna redeem himself. And kind of, and then in which like eventually they're gonna Sonic and Shadow are gonna be like Goku and Vegeta. If I have to add some Dragon Ball references, so I think that they're definitely gonna do something with Shadow. Now, if they do a Shadow project, I think I would rather make them do like a Shadow spin-off movie, maybe like special for Paramount Plus, rather than a TV series. I mean, because like the thing about it, when they did Knuckles, they basically filmed everything like straightforward, and then at the end when they were doing the editing, they were just simply cutting every single like scene that were in it, and basically kind of like transform them into episodes. So I don't know when it comes to like if they want to do a project with Shadow, like some people are saying that it might be a TV series, some people are saying that it might be a movie. I don't know. I don't know because when you're gonna do stuff outside Sonic, I think the reasonable thing they can do is like TV shows.
Yeah.
Like I said, with Tails, with Shadow. Now, I don't think Keanu Reeves because I don't think Keanu Reeves will mind if he does like one special TV show project.
Yeah.
Without going season 2, season 3, season 4, season 5. Just like they did with Knuckles. So I feel like look, because I'm thinking like this: if Idris Elba didn't mind to do the Knuckles TV show,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Keanu Reeves will mind as well, especially Keanu Reeves. I think he'll be all for it. Because think about it, he doesn't have to do any stunts or anything. He simply has to voice the character. So I don't know, but besides them, maybe you can do a spin-off with Vector and the detective agency. I don't see Big the Cat having his own spin-off. Oh yeah, there's one more character I forgot to mention that also needs to be introduced. Rouge the Bat.
Oh yes.
She also needs to be introduced in the Sonic universe, and some people are even saying that on Sonic 3 maybe then the character they're going to introduce, maybe it's actually Rouge.
That could be.
Look, if you look at the popularity of characters, because you have a lot of them in the Sonic universe, if you look at the popularity, the biggest popular ones besides Sonic, Knuckles, Tails, and Shadow, you have Amy, Silver, Big the Cat, Rouge the Bat, and that's it, and Metal Sonic.
Well, did I hear somewhere they might introduce Chow in this movie?
Chow, but I don't think it's gonna be Chow itself. I think it's gonna be just a bar or something in Tokyo.
Okay.
Yeah. But so basically, like I said, the popularity when it comes to characters, you have, like I said, Amy, you have Silver, you have Big the Cat, you have Metal Sonic, and you have Rouge the Bat.
Yes.
Those are usually the 5 characters that usually are the most popular. So, but I think like the most righteous one that should be introduced next, it should be Amy.
Yeah.
Not the Rouge the Bat or anyone else.
She'd make the most sense.
Yeah. Out of all of them, she makes the most sense. Like Metal Sonic, for me personally, sure, you can do another great scene that involves Metal Sonic, but the thing is, if you're gonna let's just put it this way: if they kill off Eggman, let's put it this way: if they kill off Eggman, how the hell Metal Sonic will be created?
Well, unless they leave that as his legacy.
Look, unless maybe throughout,
what if they do a Dr. Giro type shit?
Oh no!
What if they put Eggman's brain in Metal Sonic?
No. Here's the thing. Okay,
I would almost, if that meant Jim Carrey would voice him, I would almost want to hear that, because that would almost be funny.
Okay, I'll give you that. But here's the thing. The only solution I can see how Metal Sonic could be introduced is that, for example, in the timeline between the second and the third movie, because remember, Eggman still had that quill of Sonic. So maybe what they can do, if Eggman, if they kill him off, if Eggman is dead, maybe he created Metal Sonic during this timeline between the second and the third movie. And then basically somehow Metal Sonic got activated. That could be a possibility. But again, it's a really big loophole, because it's a very big void, because again, we know nothing about the Sonic 4 or anything else, because I'm really trying to think like what they can do next. Because if they try to do another trilogy of Sonic with Eggman gone, they should bring in like a new main villain for the trilogy. Now, usually I'm not saying all of them, but most of the characters, more precisely villains of Sonic, they're usually created by Eggman. Like, for example, Nemesis or Metal Sonic. But I have another villain that might actually replace, and I think this would be a good chance to kind of introduce him on the screen, because it's a character that I really was bragging about, like, to bring him to the video game world of Sonic, because he was introducing the comic books. Did you know that Sonic the Hedgehog had comic books?
I don't think I did.
So basically, Sonic at some period of time, Sonic had like a series of comic books. He had like a series of comic books, that were made, especially like during that time when the Adventures of Sonic, like the TV shows, were made, especially the second one. And basically, there was a character in those comics that was introduced, and his name is, if I pronounce it correctly, his name is his name is like Ixis Naugus, something like that. Like IXIS NAGU. NAUGUS. I like Axis Nagus or something like that. I always have problem pronouncing it, but basically, I always said that when people ask me like who is Nagus, who is this character, I would say this. Well, you thought Eggman was like the worst. I was like, well, trust me, with Nagus you have seen nothing yet, because in the comics, Nagus actually is way more worse than Eggman as a villain. So I feel like, if you want to bring someone to the table as like the next main villain, I think like Axis Nagus could be a perfect choice. And again, it's a character that you can easily do, even like without CGI. You can easily do him with makeup. I mean, I don't know. I mean, have you ever heard that name?
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll look and see. Oh, okay.
It looks like an evil version of a druid with a horn.
Yes.
And has like a claw.
He kind of reminds me a little bit of Moro.
Yeah, in a way. But I'm telling you, like,
hold that thought for 1 sec. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll be right
Okay.
Okie doke.
Everything is fine?
Yep.
Okay, so basically, to kind of let me give you a little history with Nagus' character. So basically, he's like a Mobian sorcerer who was let me put it this way, who was created artificially. Now, again, not like Shadow with technology. He was created through magic. Like Gerald Robotnik created Shadow through technology, artificially. Nagus was created through magic. Yeah, basically, the story, how it goes, is basically there were 3 wizards who were like in Sonic's world, were like, the very first wizards, when magic was created. And there were like 3 wizards. One of them looked like a fucking gremlin. One of them looked, the other one looked like a rhinoceros. And the third one, I think he looked like a crustacean. Anyway, so basically the story is that those 3 sorcerers, they kind of like, had like a challenge or a duel or something, and they fought against each other. And with every magic they used, every crack, every clash, like everything, basically the side effect of that created Nagus as a character. Through all of that, basically, Nagus was created, and the wizards were basically transferred into like the back of his head, like inside his mind, basically. And throughout, and which kind of also gives you the reason why Nagas looks like that. Like the horn, he took it like from the rhinoceros wizard, the claw from the crustacean, and the ears from the goblin gremlin wizard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically, like I said, he looks like a almost like a Halloween version of Quasimodo.
He'd be a good
Basically.
choice, I think. He would be a good choice for a replacement of Eggman.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, like for example, there are like basically there are two versions of Nagas. One of them is Axis Nagas, like the original, and the other one is Walter Nagas, who's basically just a normal evil sorcerer. Now, the thing what you can do is you could combine both characters into one, kind of like you use elements from both. Because the thing is, the original Axis Nagas, basically throughout the comics, he confronted so many times like Sonic and his friends and everything. But for every time he get deformed more and more and more, because every time the wizards will mess with his mind. The free ones that are like stuck in his head, they were like mess with his mind, and he will get deformed more and more and more until he became like an absolute monster and lost his mind. Like from the comics I've read, trust me, like this guy, people will, but like this guy, I would say, is one of the most formidable opponents that Sonic ever faced. And this time, instead of technology, this time, he will go up against magic. And again,
that would be a cool. That would be a cool. That would actually be a good idea. I'd like that. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, but again, it depends on like what direction they go, because like again, they can easily go, like I said, with Metal Sonic, with the Deadly Six, to even Scourge the Hedgehog, Nemesis, with even like there's I remember there was even like a purple evil genie in a Sonic movie, in a Sonic video game. Sorry, in a Sonic video game, there was even like a Sonic version of like an evil King Arthur as well. Because like Sonic has a lot of different villains in the franchise, so they can literally use anyone they want, anyone. But again, it depends. It depends on what kind of direction they want to go. But seriously, I would pay so much money to see Nagas, to appear in a Sonic movie.
Well, that would be a cool contrast, seeing Sonic go up against somebody with magic as opposed to technology.
Because for example, you have Eggman. He fought him. He basically Sonic fought technology, and this time he faces a villain that uses magic. And you could and again, you can easily do a lot of stuff with him. Like again, you can still keep him as a sorcerer, but you can also say he's like a conqueror. For example, like going across like the universe, conquering worlds, or something like that. And basically, he tries to come to Earth to conquer it. You could do all sorts of stuff. I mean, let me ask you a question. Like, of all the characters that still have to yet appear, which are the ones for you that you're mostly excited to, or wishing to see?
Oh, Amy for sure. I think Silver. Amy, Silver. I'm trying to think who else. Also Peach. Peach will be cool. Rogue.
Oh, Rouge. Okay.
Rouge. I'm trying to think. I think that's it.
I mean, on my list. Just give me a second. I have a list somewhere here.
While you're doing that, I'm just going to circle back to something I said earlier in the live stream, just to make sure we don't get any complaints from any animal lovers out there. I was joking when I said don't work with animals and small children. I really do love my dog. We all love pets here at the Shadow Council. So don't worry, folks. That was just a joke. I love my dog very much, and we all love pets here.
Except poodles.
Yes, poodles. Yes, no.
I mean, for me at least, I hate poodles.
Yeah, no, me too. It's funny. It's funny. My dad's gonna love that I shared this on the live stream. The first dog that I wanted to get was, the first dog I got. When I got my first dog, I was 7, and Dad said anything but a poodle. Uh, and we wound up getting a schnoodle, a mix of a poodle and a schnauzer.
You know what you get when you get a bulldog and a Shih Tzu?
What?
Bullshit.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yep, that's a good. Yeah. I mean, I heard the very first time I heard it was in Dumb and Dumber, and since that moment I was like I'm repeating that joke over and over.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that one.
Yeah. Also, actually, another character I really wish to see is the Omega robot.
Yes.
Because think about it, if you like, we have Team Sonic, but if you go with Omega and Rouge, you have Team Shadow.
That's true.
So again, like we could go all over the place, but again, there's all sorts of characters that they could easily introduce in the world of Sonic. So I don't know, like the question. I mean, the question I have like how long they can take, because again, like because you have to think about because the one of the things that kind of worries me is how long it's gonna take them to do this. And like for example, how long we had to wait for the Knuckles TV show since it was announced.
Mm-hmm.
Also with like how many things they still want to do, and how long because there's even a question like if Jeff Fowler is going to direct Sonic 4. Because
I think that's a good question, because like I'm trying to think about, so with the original Marvel stuff, I think it took like 10 years to build that first phase, that first like Infinity War stuff. I think it was 10 years. So I think that, 10 years, I think it depends. I mean, I don't know if people would stay interested for 10 years with Sonic, to be honest. I think they could. But I don't know. So I think that's a good point. That's a good point. I like your point about how long is this going to take? Who is ultimately going to be in charge of it? Who's ultimately going to direct it all? Because I think that I guess the jeopardy I see is that they're going to do a whole like universe, is how long do they spread it out? But the other thing is how quickly. The other thing is like how close together does this stuff come out? Because the thing with the MCU, at least the first phase, was I think they had the balance there right between having things come out quickly but also not getting too fatigued.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Sonic, if they keep on this 2-year schedule, I think that it works. But my only concern is that I think that you could see a little bit of fatigue set in too at some point. So I don't know.
Also, you also have to think about that. Sonic 4 is not greenlight yet.
Yeah.
I mean, because like there's even though that they are saying that they're kind of like preparing the grounds for Sonic 3 to kind of like to go for like the entire like Sonic future after Sonic 3, they're kind of like preparing the grounds and everything. But you also have to think like when Sonic 4 is going to be greenlighted, how long it's going to take to write the script, how long they're going to like film it and everything, like like there are all sorts of stuff you have to take in consideration. But like even like with the overall, because the thing is, the Sonic the Hedgehog lore, it is really, really deep and rich.
Yes.
All sorts of like material that it really really the one thing that really is in my mind, like how much they're gonna spread this like lore and everything, because again, Sonic the Hedgehog universe is filled with so many characters. So I don't know. I really don't know where they're planning to go with this, because like. Because personally, I think like Jim Carrey, I think like after Sonic 3, I think he'll be officially done as Eggman.
Well, I guess the thing about Sonic 3, you just made me think about it setting the stage for Sonic 4, and like even like a bigger universe. The comparison I would make with that, and I hope it doesn't follow I hope it doesn't follow this movie. And I think you have an idea. You might have an idea what movie I'm thinking of. that makes me think of the Amazing Spider-Man 2, which was, I mean, I think everybody agrees by this point that it was overpacked, and making
Yep.
Electro Blue was a dumb decision. But I think that I guess the thing that I would say about Sonic 3, I guess that's a little more jeopardy I see with it, is that I hope they don't spend the whole movie just bringing up plot elements that they're going to resolve later or hope to resolve later, or
I mean, look,
characters they hope to delve more into later, because I think that the Amazing Spider-Man 2 sort of did that. They introduced a lot of elements and a lot of characters that I think, because they wanted to do a whole Sony universe with that, and I think they had thought that they would delve more into those later, and the Amazing Spider-Man 2 failed, and all the rest of it crashed down. So I guess I would say the same thing with Sonic 3, is that I'm really hoping that they focus more on the story and more on the characters that are in there, and less on bringing up elements or bringing up new characters that they'll go into in future movies. Because if Sonic 3, for whatever reason, turns out to be a disaster, they're going to have egg on their face.
Yeah, no pun intended. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, first and foremost, how they're going to introduce new characters. Well, first, the easiest way to do it is not just simply through the Sonic movies, but for example, if you're going to do spin-offs, Tails or Shadow in this case, because think about it, out of all the characters that are introduced so far, the only two possible ones that could have a spin-off are Tails and Shadow.
Yeah.
Now, they're for example, now if you're gonna go that direction, you can introduce other characters even through those spin-offs. You can introduce them and then somehow push them into the movie in a way, because the thing is, because so far everything they did from Sonic 1, Sonic 2, and even Knuckles, so far everything for me felt natural. Everything felt like nothing overstuffed, nothing rushed. They really took their time. So, and I still believe there's going to be the same thing with Sonic 3. So if they keep doing with that particular formula, I think so far I don't think there's going to be any, let's just say, bad publicity. Let's put it that way. I think that they're going to be on the right track. But again, one of the fears I also have is the overstuffing. Because that's why I think especially the subject I was talking about, Earth. If everything is happening on Earth, so because the only solution I have is that you can continue making Sonic movies, but make at least make Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles return to their home.
Yeah.
Because from them when on, you can do anything you want. Any stories you like. I mean, I don't know, because let me put it this way. I remember when I told you about the Sonic X as an example.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, I repeat, that's the only solution they have. Okay, they did some missions, for example, let's just say the Eggman final fight they had with Shadow and everything. Now after that, there's no other threat. So the only thing they can do is basically make them return back home to their home world. Because if you look at the home world of Sonic, like I said, Tails, Knuckles, and Sonic, they all three of them live in this on the same world.
Hang on a sec.
Mm-hmm. Is that all right?
Hang on. Okay.
Okay. So again, now of course, I have nothing against Sonic the Hedgehog, having his own cinematic universe. I really have nothing against it. But again, I think the most reasonable thing to do is that not to do every single story on Earth. I think they should concentrate on many other different worlds as well.
Wait, hold on 1 sec. I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm. Looks like we have a lot of interferences today. Dirty, dirty bastards. Awkward silence.
Okie dokie.
Is everything all right?
Yep. Okie dokie.
Okay. Yeah. Now, the question I have is here: like, if they continue making Sonic movies like outside Earth, because remember, now the question is, like, is it also going to have like the same style?
That's a good question.
Because like, if they, for example, since they moved from Earth to like, for let's just say to the Sonic's world, because like when you look at the very beginning from the first movie, like every single part of that sequence was done like completely CGI. So well, with the exception of the mushroom thing, the mushroom planet. But so I don't know. I mean, that's why I really wanted to talk about this, because like this type of like topic really got a lot of question marks in my head. A lot of question marks. Yeah, because I'm really curious to see what they're planning to do with Sonic 4. I really am curious.
Yeah, I'm curious too, because I mean, I feel like if they would stick with the formula they have, I mean, it's worked in 3 movies, but I think it would get a little bit tedious. But at the same time, I just don't know if you took the humans out, if you took if you took all the humans out, I don't know if that is like an element of the movies that is like what really draws people in. And if you take that out, if the movies then if that's going to make the movies like falter a little, I don't know. I mean, it could. I don't know.
Or here's another idea I have. If you're gonna keep the characters on Earth, living and everything, then okay, let me put it this way. So you introduce like Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy. Let's just say now we're also gonna have Shadow as well. Now, maybe you can. I mean, the only ones I can definitely see be introduced after that is Rouge, the Bat, and Silver. Because like after that, because I think like that, I think when it comes to like fictional characters, I think like that is the for me personally, I think like that would be the enough amount of characters like living on Earth. Now, if you're gonna introduce like other characters, like I said, Big the Cat, Vector and the Detective Agency, and Scourge the Hedgehog, and many others, to not keep them on Earth, the only reasonable thing they can do is basically at the end, like you see them in the movie, and then basically at the very end of the movie, they basically return to their own world. If you get what I'm saying, like Sonic and the crew.
For 1 sec.
Yeah, no problem. A lot of interferences, man. Oh my god, how many interferences? T. Diddle-doo. Sorry, guys, for all these interferences. But what can I say? Sometimes shit happens.
Okie dokie.
All right, then. So, again, to kind of repeat what I was trying to say is that, okay, so when it comes to like characters that live on Earth, you introduce Amy, Rouge the Bat, and that's it. That's it. Like everyone else from Silver, Vector, and the Detective Agency, Big the Cat, and everyone else that you introduce, The only way to kind of keep the cinematic universe like on Earth, the only way you can do this is that like if the other characters besides Rouge the Bat and Amy, everyone else returns to their own world at the very end of every story. And then basically when you continue like other telling other stories, what they can possibly do is that like, okay, we need the help. Let's just say let me put it this way. Let's just say that Sonic and the crew, they need help from Silver, for example. They basically open a portal with the rings, and they go back to the world where Silver is, and they say, "Hey, Silver, we need your help." He goes to Earth, fights whatever it is, and then goes back to his home world at the very end. I think like I think that's the only way they can do it without overstuffing it. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the one thing I will say about the Sonic movies is, and I guess it's partially why I'm a little worried about overstuffing, but I'm not terribly concerned, is because so far they've done really kind of well with balancing it.
Yep.
So I think they know what they're doing. I don't know. I think that assuming we get a fourth one, assuming that it gets greenlit, I think they're going to have to be smart about the direction they go. Again, I mean, I think the thing they need to evaluate is I think they need to look at the human characters and the dynamic between the hedgehogs and the humans. Because, like I said, I just don't know if that's something that, like, we as the fans, like, really connect with in the live action movies. And because of that, that makes them better and that makes them more acceptable. Or if they would be acceptable as just like completely CGI movies with no live actors whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, with an entire movie without like actual live actors, I think like when it comes to the overall budget, I think there would have been a much more bigger budget than what it is usually, like for the Sonic movies. So I think like the only way they can balance it is, like I said, they introduce one or two more characters that stays who will stay on Earth, and everyone else, just like they did in Sonic X, and everyone else, besides the main characters. Everyone else, they go in and out, like from one world to Earth and Earth back to their own world, and that's basically it. For example, at one point we see Vector and the crew going back, kind of like helping them, whatever it is, on Earth. Then they go back to their own world. Then maybe Sonic at one point he goes to their own world trying to solve a case or something. They go back to Earth. I mean, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only possible way they can do. Even because I think that way there's a bigger chance you can introduce more characters. Because again, if you try to overstuff them on Earth and everything, I think that would be too much.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think putting them on Earth would be really overstuffing, and they'd have a lot of balls in the air. I mean, they might be able to pull it off, but I don't know.
I mean, look. Let's be frank. Like the so far we can do is to see how Sonic 3 is gonna do.
Yeah,
because again they do have plans for Sonic 4 and everything, but again it depends on how well it's gonna do, how critically it's gonna be received. The box office, there's all sorts of stuff here. Even though I think it's still on box office, it's gonna do well.
Yeah, I think box office wise, it's probably gonna do well.
I'm guessing it's gonna be over $1 billion.
I think reception wise, I think review wise, I think that's really going to tell the tale of what they're going to do going forward. I think it's going to tell the tale of what characters they might spin off or might not spin off. And I guess my one concern with them expanding the universe is right now it sounds like they're doing the side project, doing the spinoffs, and doing another movie. I guess the thing that I hope that they have. I hope they have an end game for it. I hope they know, have an idea what they're building towards, and they're not just building as they go along. Like they have a vision for what they want to do eventually. Because I think that will work out better for them, and I think that it'll translate better and it'll work better expanding the universe if they have an end game. If they're just building as they go, I mean, that can work, but I think that
It's more risky.
yeah, it's a lot more risky. Um, so I'm really hoping they have an end game where they have a vision.
But the thing is, like so far, I mean, there are two ways how the Sonic universe can go. Two ways. One, it's a cinematic universe where everything is connected. Or two, they do like a shared universe where, like, you know, they're like, you know, just like for example, James Gunn is doing with the DC universe.
Yes.
Because he's doing like a shared universe. You know, so the Sonic the Hedgehog like universe, I think they can do the same thing. Like basically, instead of like, you know, connecting everything, what they can do is basically just simply expanding it and kind of like, you know, putting like, you know, bits and pieces everywhere, you know, in a way, so that it kind of looks like a shared universe. Because again, you can go both ways: cinematic universe where everything is connected, or shared universe.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about, like, if you look at Sonic 3, especially when you mention, like, you know, which spin-offs they're going to use, they're going to tell. Like I said, for the Sonic 3, there are only two characters they can do: Shadow and Tails. Only those two, because Knuckles has already been done. Sonic is not necessary because, you know, he has his own movies. So the only possible two characters are Shadow and Tails. Now, I think out of all of them, I think that Shadow might have the biggest chance to have his own spin-off. Now, here's the thing: if Shadow lives at the end of Sonic 3, which of course I think 99%, I think he will. What kind of a spin-off do you think Shadow will have? Or how would you imagine it to be?
I don't know, maybe more of a prequel.
I doubt it. I doubt it, because he was frozen for 50 years.
I don't know. That's a good question.
My theory is this: I think it's gonna be just like Knuckles. It's gonna be like, you know, trying to find his way into like on Earth. Try to, like, you know, okay, let me put it this way: trying to find its way, trying to find a home on Earth, like, you know, by also following the wishes of Maria. It's kind of like, you know, helping humanity, you know, every single day, be nice to them, compassion and all that. So I think, like, you know, that's the kind of spin-off Shadow might have.
Only
Like, you
thing
know,
Shadow, though, is they're going to have some character to balance him out. They're going to have some lighter character to balance him out, I think.
That's why I think like the most possible one to balance him out, I think it's going to be Rouge the Bat. If they introduce her in a Shadow spin-off, I think she would be perfect to kind of balance Shadow, you know, in the TV show or movie or whatever they do. Because, like, the thing is, now, like, again, unlike Knuckles, I think like Shadow is going to be a little bit more serious than Knuckles, and also I think like it's going to be more action-packed. I think.
Yes.
You know, like I'm not saying John Wick style action packed, but like we're gonna see like more action. And for Shadow, I don't think we might see you know, a human in it. I mean, look, here's the thing: they might even introduce a human inside this spinoff. You know, to kind of like, again, maybe a human to balance him out. But I think like the perfect choice would be Rouge the Bat.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, for example, let me give an example for a human. Like, for example, you have Shadow, like, you know, on a motorbike or going somewhere around the world, and then he meets like a street kid or something. You know, someone on the streets, like a girl or a kid or an adult, and basically they go on this like crazy action-packed adventures together, or something. I mean, it kind of sounds simple, but that's sort of kind of like a spin-off I can see for Shadow.
I can see that.
Now, if they do like a Tails spin-off, how would you imagine a Tails spin-off?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think it would be a lot more light than a Shadow one would be. I think there'd be a lot more humor in it.
But what kind of a story do you think he would have?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm trying to. I don't.
My idea would be like some sort of like a everyday adventures in Green Hill, where basically he's trying to invent every episode like new inventions.
Oh, yeah, I kind of see that. So kind of like so would it be like, I'm trying to think. So would it be less serialized? Like would there be like an overarching story, or just like more like the episodes would be like self-contained?
It would have an overarching story, but basically like but basically Tail, like basically like in this case Tails, his story won't be like to find a home on Earth. It would basically be him trying to create like new gadgets, new inventions, to kind of like not just simply for like to basically create more and more like self-confidence in himself, but also in the same time try to, for example, like use these machines to help others, like in Green Hill, basically, from like
that would be an interesting idea. I like that.
Yeah, for example, like he creates machines that, like, for example, helps farmers, or a machine that will help someone cross the road, or like a machine that makes coffee or something, like much more faster. The point is that the way how I see it, it could be like episode per episode. But I think like it could have like an overarching story where basically Tails is trying to discover himself, as like and getting more and more confidence to himself, his genius, and his machines.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that would be kind of like a cute little adventure as a TV show.
I could see that.
Yeah. Now, now Tails probably as a TV show, I don't think it will have any villains. I don't think it would, unless you can let's just say unless there's you can put like a how can I put this? Unless you can put like a broken unless you can put like a broken droid who tries to rebuild himself, with artificial intelligence or something. I don't know.
I could see that.
Yeah. Okay. All right then.
I think there's a lot they can do with Sonic, though. I mean, I think there's a lot.
No, there's a lot. There's a lot
they
can
do.
do.
A matter of they need to make sure everything stays consistent. They need to make sure it stays linear, and I think they need to have an end game. Because if they don't have the end game, I just like it needs to build, and they don't necessarily need to do this with the third one, but they need to have some idea of where you're going to build to, where it's going to build to.
I agree. Actually, kind of come. I actually got another idea for Tails. Like I said, it could be like a wreckage of a robot that kind of like at first belonged to Robotnik, and then basically he tries to rebuild himself and also create like an artificial intelligence, but also you as a main.
Hold that thought for 1 sec.
Okay. Again, guys, I do apologize for the interferences.
Okie doke.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, I just want to say before we wrap this up, because I can definitely see that you're gonna be busy in a short period of time. Basically, I was trying to say that the another solution, another idea I could have to kind of like have a main villain in a Tails spinoff is basically like you have like a jealous rival scientist who basically wants to steal his technology.
Oh, that would actually be. I like that idea.
Yeah, and you can even make like this main villain a human. Literally, like someone. Let's say you can literally make this scientist like either working for the government or like from a normal science lab, like or even like or even like a chemist in a elementary school or high school or something. Like, I mean, literally, you can go anywhere. But like, I think like that also could be like a good main villain for Tales, you know. And basically, the final fight will be basically between both scientists. Which technology is stronger.
I like that. That would be good.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's kind of like my idea. What I think a Tales TV show could be. Now, again, anything is possible. Because just have to wait and see how Sonic 3 does. Because so far, I mean, it's kind of difficult to go as far as we can when it comes to like what it could happen, what we could imagine, which characters and everything. Because this cinematic universe can go literally anywhere, right?
Yeah,
they can go literally anywhere with this. So far, I mean, like before we wrap this up, do you have anything more to say?
Not really.
All right then. So, because it looks like we have reached the end of the road. We have reached the end of this. I almost said Rainbow Road, but that's like Super Mario. Anyway, so guys, thank you for watching everything. We reached another end of the road of another Shadow Council episode. You guys know the drill. Comment, like, subscribe, give your own personal thoughts about like the overall Sonic movies. What did you thought of the Sonic 1 and 2? What are the characters? What do you think? Like, what are your expectations of Sonic 3? Or more precisely, afterwards with the Sonic Cinematic Universe? Give me your own personal thoughts. Everything in the comment section down below. Until then, like always, Lord of Shadows signing off.
TK out.
And as always, stay tuned for the next upcoming Shadow Council episode. But until then, later, fuckers.